So guys, this has been a crazy week, and I know that every week seems to be a crazy week for me, at least the way I start most videos here on this channel, but it's kind of just the norm for me and the way it goes. What have we done so far this week? Well, what are we doing right now? We'll start there. So currently it is 38 degrees and we got a little bit of freezing rain coming down here in South Carolina. Very odd winter, which every winter is very odd in the South, or at least here the last decade or so. It seems we live in the Pacific Northwest more than anything because it's just super wet, muddy, marshy during the wintertime. And it really sucks because there's a lot of stuff I always want to accomplish during the wintertime when it's not blazingly hot, but I can't do it just because of how much rain we get and how muddy everything stays. I can't take the equipment out and get any work done because everything's just a muddy mess, and I'll destroy the pastures, the yard, etc., doing any kind of work with the equipment. So, it's a real big hindrance. Now, just the other day, ran the mill. Unfortunately, did not film it. It was kind of a quick job. Kind of a disaster on top of it. I'll show you when we get back to the farm where we're headed right now, as long as it's not, pouring by the time we get there. But I had a buddy's father bring me a downed pine tree, really big pine tree, 3 sections of it, brought it in last Friday on a rollback. Now, in all honesty, he shouldn't have wasted his time or money having it brought to me because it was punky. The pine had died, it had dropped all its limbs, it had dropped half of its bark, and there were termite holes all over it. And the closest to the stump piece was the first one I milled Monday. And when I grabbed it with the excavator and the thumb, it was just like grabbing a wet sponge. Just water came running out of it, just super punky, not great. As I cut it, instead of nice sawdust, it was caking up inside of the blade housing with wet, pulpy mush. So I milled and milled on it. Huge log, could not turn it. It was just a pain. I had to take the E42, grab it off, turn it, drop it back on, clamp it down. Was not a fun time. Did not film it for that. Had I filmed it, it would have just been me mad and cursing the whole time. So I saved y'all that. But just dealing with those massive logs was kind of a pain, especially when I would try to push it against the stops, the log stops, to square it up. And I would push the sawmill off of the stumps, basically, that I've got under the jacks to level it. So I'm assuming my biggest problem is the fact that the mill is not on level ground. I've got the jacks on the backside higher than the ones closest to me because there is an incline there. So looks like I need to get a more level place to set the mill up. I need to move it from where it's at. I think that'll alleviate a lot of the issues. But, it's just an uphill battle. And I cut and I cut and I cut. I could not get the thing to square. It was always off. And every time I made a cut, it would spring and pop up. So it had a lot of tension in it still, or something. I don't know. But he wanted 4x10 beams. I ended up getting 3 4x10s out of it, roughly. And he wanted 1x offcuts. And I have some 1x, I have some 2x. But basically every slab I cut off of it, when I'd pull it off the mill, it would break into multiple pieces when it hit the ground because it was just, again, so punky and so soft and had rot in it. So another gripe I had was as I milled into the night, because I started about 4:30 and I think I finished up about 7:30 at night, I saw sparks. Sparks mean metal. So I tore my blade up as well, milling this thing. Multiple times I hit metal and saw sparks. I was not changing a blade. I was going to finish cutting it with the blade. That might be part of the problem with it not getting square and having some kind of wonky cuts because I hit metal. But I wasn't going to tear up a second blade on this rotten log. So milled it up for him, left the other 2 on the ground, texted him about it. He said, well, hold up, don't mill anything else till I come look at it. Which, again, I don't know if those beams are any good or not. It was pretty solid in the core. I mean, this is a big log. It was probably 30 inches, 28 inches, something like that. It was a big pine. But I just don't think it's worth what we did. So that was Monday. Yesterday was Tuesday, today's Wednesday. This video should be up today. Yesterday I was working on customer sandbar dump. That'll be on the Subaru channel. Did a lot of work to it, got it done really late last night, finished up about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And, you know, I was trying to get that done before the weather turned bad. Well, here it is, turned bad. I actually wanted to get out and run the mill a little bit more because of all the logs we got in the previous video, or the video before that. All those long pines and oaks, really wanted to get the mill in those. But just not gonna have time to get to them because it's supposed to rain today, snow possibly, and then tomorrow. So again, we'll have another 3 or 4 days of mushy bog because we didn't even dry out from last week's rain. And then Monday I've got an Outback coming for an oil change and possibly an oil pan quick lube. Apparently boogered up the drain pan or the drain bolt, so we'll see what that is. I've got another sandbar waiting on valve stem seals to come in. They're on back order. I've got a Toyota Highlander hybrid for rear brakes, and I've got a new project car for the Mr. Subaru channel that you haven't seen yet. I'm trying not to spoil it in the video, but probably will be seen in the background. So again, we're almost to the farm. I'll bring you back when we're there. So we just got back to the farm, and I realized I didn't even tell you what I've done today, just the last 2 days. So this morning I ran out of propane at like 4:47 in the morning. I had to run outside, switch my tank over so my heater would still run. So went and refilled one of the 30-pound canisters this morning for propane, and we went and got a couple of quotes from body shops for the project that I haven't mentioned yet on the YouTube channel, and you know, just getting back now. So yep, it is freezing rain. I just got out and checked the mail at the driveway and heard the tingle of freezing rain, but it's not going to stick. It's 40 degrees. It's, you know, melting on contact. So not too worried about this wintry slush or mix they're calling for. We're not going to get much more than rain. So I've learned I get about a week and a day out of a 30-pound propane canister. So here is the current state of the mess of my yard with all the tracks in it. We were using the E42, like I said, to turn that big log. Here's the other 2 logs, and the other one was much bigger than these, and these are pretty beefy. But as you can see, they drop bark and limbs, and there are holes, woodpecker, termite, all kind of manner all over this thing. And that one's even worse for wear. That was the tallest part of the tree. And, you know, it's awful wet in there. There's my foot for comparison, size 13. It's a big log, but did not appreciate the way the rollback driver dropped these things in my yard. As you can see, he dropped them off of the back of the rollback and then used the bed to push them across the yard and gouge everything up, instead of waiting 5 seconds for me to warm up the E42 and grab them off the back. But there we go. So these seem to be better, but not by a lot, than the bottom part of the tree near the trunk. He wanted 4x10s. He's got 3 4x10s roughly. I don't know how long they are. I did not take the tape to them. I'd say they're at least 16 feet. Might be wrong. And then we got some 1x over here. Here's, you can see the outside of that tree, how punky it was. It just broke every time I pulled a slab off. Very squishy, very rotty. And then he wanted some 1x, 2x offcut slabs. So he's got quite a few to pick from here. Again, I don't know if they're any good or not. A lot of this was very wet. And here's what I'm talking about, where I could not get some of this to square up. You can very easily see that is crooked. That is not square top to bottom. I don't know what was going on there. Again, every time I would cut, it would spring. I don't know if the rot had gotten into it. I mean, here's another good one. You can see when I pulled that one off, it broke. And then you can see right there where termites or something had been burrowing in this thing. It's just rotty. And that's where the cant hook went, just straight through it every time I turned it. I mean, you know, not good wood. And that's the sawdust from it. You can see it's this moosh. It hasn't rained. This is how it came out of the tree. It's not nice and fluffy and dry. It was, you know, just kind of bad. And I had to cut this end off because it was too far for the mill. or too long for the mill. And again, you can see some of those spots in it. And if I can get this to roll over, yeah, this is what the log looked like. I mean, that's rot, that's punky, that's mush, that's a million freaking woodpecker and termite holes in it. This thing wasn't probably worth milling. It probably wasn't worth the gasoline and the, you know, wear on my blades. Looks like this, we might get a good 4x4 or 6x6 out of the middle, but all this was just wet and gross. No good. So, I don't know, waiting on him to come, pick through this pile, see if there's anything he wants. Gonna get him to take these beams he wanted. The beams came out pretty square. Once I got down to that section, it cut pretty square, but for some reason, I mean, even this one, you can see on camera, it's not parallel top and bottom. It was not cutting squarely. I don't know. I'm kind of worried that when I put the log on there, that it messed up the deck. So I need to go back through, make sure this is level. Again, I think I'm gonna move it because it's on a hill, it's on a grade this way. So this side's jacks are down further than this side's, but I just need to go through, make sure everything's still square and good on the mill. Smaller logs are definitely easier to mill on this log. They're easier to handle, easier to move, easier to turn than big stuff like that, or you know, some of the big stuff we got back here. But it's not impossible. It's just a pain, and I kind of regret getting a trailer because of how unstable it is, or I got to figure out some other way to do this. But being on these jacks, I mean, just with my foot or trying to slide the logs, it does move quite a bit. I kind of wish I'd gone with a rigid sawmill track and, you know, built a frame for it. Now, I think that I would be able to disassemble the trailer or take the rails off and the head off and just make this a ground model, which we might end up doing because there's plenty of logs here. There's plenty of stuff to mill. And, you know, pole barn to cover the equipment, something for sawmill shed, all stuff on the docket, all on the agenda for projects. So got plenty here to work with. Lots of 4x4s, 6x6s, stuff of that nature. So no problem building something and, you know, making a permanent base for this. And, you know, if we need to swap, I'm seeing snowflakes. I don't know if it's coming through on the camera, but I guess the weatherman wasn't too far off. We're getting freezing rain and some flakes, but I think it's just too warm. So hopefully next week we'll get into this if we get some good weather, get into milling some of these logs. I'd really like that, and you know, use this mill more because I've had it over a month now and I've only milled 2 logs at this point. So as I said before, this little sandbar is waiting on valve stem seals. They're on national back order. This one I just finished last night, should be good to go. I just gotta tabulate the bill on it, call the customer. That Highlander needs brakes. Looks like I need to tension the tracks on the E42. And you know, other than that, we gotta figure out something for firewood processing. Now, I don't remember if I mentioned it in the last video or not, but we went to the Southern Farm Show in Raleigh, and there was a ton of cool stuff up there. And that firewood processor, man, I loved it. I just cannot justify $80,000, $90,000 for a firewood processor for as little demand as there is for firewood down here in the South, other than some wood stoves and stuff for myself to heat in the winter in cabins and structures I build on the farm in the future. But man, it is really starting to snow now. Don't know if you guys can see it, but there's flakes. It's freezing rain and flakes. But there's plenty of big logs in here, plenty of stuff still to mill. We got plenty of mill content coming up. I need to get that pine log out of there. That thing's been there a while. I don't want it to get rotten on me. But most of this stuff is oak and you know, nicer hardwoods. We got some stumps in here. We might try to slab cut some of those stumps. Just lots of this stuff will probably end up slabbed instead of dimensional lumber. We'll just have to see, but really excited to get some of this big stuff on the HM136 Max. I mean, Hanford scale. We got some big hardwoods in here. They've taken down some big trees. We got some stuff that's got some length to it too, not just small bucks of very large. There's another good one right there. That one will be nice to mill up, about 8 foot. So plenty of stuff to come. Just a slow week for the farm channel, and a lot of auto repair kind of thrown in my lap. You know, I still don't have the shop built, which waiting on quotes for that right now. But you know, it is on the docket, and yep, it's snowing. You can see the snowflakes now. Oh my God. Well, looks like I'm gonna have a nice day in, a little lazy, slow day, and you know, get some emails answered, get some comments done, edit some videos, post this up. I got a Mr. Subaru video to edit, some repair videos to edit. We got a couple of quotes to write and a couple of job tickets to write and some customers to call. So looks like we'll finally get a nice, slow, laid-back day during the week to do that. So look for the positive and the negative, because there's plenty of negative I could have here with the weather and holding me up from doing what I really want to do today. But you know what? It's nice to slow down and relax every once in a while. It's kind of crazy how quickly the day can change. I rapidly went from having a lazy sit around kind of day to, in the E42, about to move some wood. Just had 2 big loads of both firewood and saw logs and some wood chips dropped off. So likely we'll be getting in the 770 to move those wood chips here for too long. And all of our flurries turned into humongous snowflakes, and now is back to freezing rain and rain. So again, you never know what way the day is gonna go. Probably should have got the 86 going for this job. Honestly wonder if that Bobcat log grapple attachment would be beneficial to me. As much wood and logs as I move and handle now, compared to just using this 12-inch or a 24-inch digging bucket and the thumb. Actually, we've got a bucket on the 770. I might want to go ahead and get it warming up so I can get all these wood chips after we move all this stuff over and off of the pile. Kind of wish they'd go back to bringing me just loads of chips and then logs instead of putting logs on top of chips, but not horrible to deal with either way. Just would be preferable the other way. I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get this a little bit sorted out, pushed to the back. We'll drive the E42 around to the back side of this pile over here, and we'll get the 770 to move these chips, and then we will finish stacking the firewood stuff in the middle. And then, God, we'll probably need the 86, honestly, to move those saw logs. Bad we need 3 pieces of equipment just to handle some wood in the yard. Try to move these without tearing them up. right, got most of that moved out of our way. Really need to find a firewood processor and get on this firewood pile. But we're gonna go jump in the 770. Ought to be nice and warm by now, and start shoveling these wood chips over to the chip pile. And we definitely need to start milling these big logs very soon, because the hardwoods can sit out here, but these pines cannot. Soupy mess out here, that's for sure. Got all our wood chips, or most we could moved out of the way and stacked up. Jump back into E42 and finish the last little bit of logs. And we'll spread these wood chips out a little bit. But yeah, we're about done. We'll finally get in the house, edit this video to post, and enjoy some heat out of the rain. So guys, we got the hardwoods there stacked, the big oaks. We got most of the sawdust and wood chips up. We got our big log stacked, and we are done. This time we are done. Time to go inside. Time to get some warmth. Time to keep the boots off, warm the toes up. Time to make a little snack and edit this video for you guys to enjoy. So again, we will end the video since we did earlier. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all in the next one.